Legend A. And is Marvel lying to you? That's what it looks like. Because according to this information from Cosmic Circus coming directly from insider Alex Perez, the trailers, the teasers, better said, of Doomsday are lying. They're showing things that won't happen in the movie. For example, he cites the teaser, Steve Rogers will return, where he shows up riding a motorcycle, enters the house, and takes care of a little baby. Giving the impression that this will be in the movie, or will it be explained in more detail in the movie? And in the end, the message that Steve Rogers will return. And he says no, that Steve Rogers with a shaved face won't appear. Steve Rogers won't appear, the one who had a child with Peggy. None of that. What will actually appear is Steve Rogers, with long hair and a beard, who will be the Nomad. He won't wear the Captain America uniform or use the shield. No, he'll have Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, which I mentioned here in another video that Captain America without any ceremony took. He didn't give it back to Thor in that timeline, leaving him without his hammer. And then we start wondering, now what? What's gonna happen? When I saw the teaser, I thought that wasn't in the movie yet, that it was like a prequel to the movie. It was a video that told a part of a story we missed, that connects Avengers Endgame to Doctor Doom Doomsday, connects the two movies. But it doesn't necessarily have to be part of the plot. It doesn't need to be for the plot. It's just so you understand where that character was during that period. And the same thing goes for Thor. And then you can understand the story without having to go back to it in the movie. You've already explained it in a teaser, okay? So I wasn't expecting that scene to now have a completely different Steve Rogers from that one. I really wasn't expecting that. Yeah, and then comes the question, could there be a lawsuit? Because there's already a precedent, right? There have already been lawsuits filed against studios for lying in trailers. There are precedents for lawsuits over misleading trailers. Because the consumer feels wronged. Because they're consuming a product that makes a promise it doesn't keep. On the studio side, they claim that the trailer is a kind of promotional advertisement. It doesn't have to be exactly what's in the movie. There can be a certain amount of fantasy in the trailer. And no one has really won a lawsuit against any studio, any major studio. That's why the most famous case, maybe the most serious one, was this one. A scene where Ana de Armas appeared in that movie yesterday. She appeared on a talk show and the main character played guitar for her and she got emotional. And here she appeared in the trailer. Ana de Armas wasn't a very famous person at that time. She was just starting to appear and she was cut from the movie. When they made the final cut, she wasn't in the movie anymore. And some people who had become her fans then sued the studio for cutting Ana de Armas. You showed her in the trailer and promised she'd be in the movie, but she isn't. It's not like Marvel, where they show the Hulk and then Bruce Banner, right? They change some things, take the Infinity Stone out of the gauntlet. Marvel did this several times. Remove entire characters from a scene, but just so they don't give spoilers. And it's the same thing with Ana. You promised an actor and the actor isn't in the movie, and then it would be a serious problem, like Chris Evans isn't in the movie. Or you put at the end, Steve Rogers will return, and Steve Rogers doesn't return. So if a bearded Steve Rogers shows up with a hammer in Thor, it's still Steve Rogers and he's still returning. It's just not the one who showed up there. That's a variant. The teasers promises that Steve Rogers will return, so if it's Chris Evans, the same bearded guy with a hammer in his hand and wearing a nomad outfit, is it still Steve Rogers returning? So I think that in this case, despite all the outrage, there's really no grounds at all to start a lawsuit. I don't think this fight will happen, but not for that reason. And then we start wondering what might be going on, what's on those guys' minds, right? Putting Steve Rogers there like that and him not showing up that way, maybe that Steve Rogers dies. Right at the beginning, Puff died, and then we see variants of Steve Rogers later in the movie, because it's possible. We're not talking about the multiverse. Maybe that Captain America, who stays in the past with Peggy, was the one responsible for the original incursion. He's going to be devastated. A bomb will drop on his house and he won't survive. But then the movie goes on, it gives you that initial shock, like, wow, they killed Captain America. It gives you that initial shock. But then he shows up in another movie from another universe, played by the same actor. You could have Nomad, Captain Hydra, old Steve Rogers, or several Steve Rogers. There you go. Because the multiverse allows for this kind of trickery, it allows for this kind of device to fool and give the audience the impression that everything is lost, but in reality it's not. That Rogers with the baby in the skin is from another universe. He didn't finish Endgame. It could be anything, but in general, what? Does this teaser deliver on its promise? That Steve Rogers will return in Doctor Doom? Yes, if Steve Rogers isn't in Doctor Doom, that's fine, but if he is... Anyway, the promise of the teaser is fulfilled and the teaser is true. It's even less serious than erasing a character, less serious than adding a character, than changing the character's appearance. Changing the outfit he's wearing just to disguise it so it's silly. We might even have a surprise. We might be thinking in our heads that it's Captain America with the baby. He's going to put on that suit again, pick up the shield, and get back into action to protect his family. Maybe that won't happen in the movie. Maybe the Russo brothers have another idea of what to do with Steve Rogers, and the Steve Rogers variants that might show up in Avengers. Doctor Doom, so I think it's just a flash in the pan for people. Are they really going to sue because the trailer is fake? It's not fake. The trailer is just building anticipation for the movie. Expectations can be right or wrong. That's not the case of such character who won't be in the movie. It's not like that. An actor who isn't in the movie, you're actually promising something that's not there. As for Ana de Armas, the judge did not set a precedent. No, he didn't rule in favor of those who were suing the fans of Ana de Armas. That really won't happen since it's a minor issue. But I want to know what you think. Is there grounds for a lawsuit? Is there grounds for a lawsuit? Will it go to court? Write it down here below in the comments. In a little while, we'll be back with more pop culture topics. And after that, there should be some channel options showing up for you to click and stick around with me a bit longer. Use the weekend, especially Sunday, to watch missed videos and catch up on the channel after a hectic week. And a lot happened this week, so catch up because this channel went through quite a lot these past days. See you later. See you soon. See you in a bit. Bye. That was another Cuatro Coisas piece. The channel posts at least 3 videos daily, Monday through Sunday. If you liked it, here are some more suggestions for you to watch. Don't forget to leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell for new updates. Thank you very much. See you next time.